This video is going to be another goodbye or goodbye video. Sa video na to, I'm going to talk about Megawide Corporation or MWide, if it's a goodbye for me or a goodbye. So disclaimer lang, the analysis and opinions discussed in this video is for educational purposes only and should not be considered as financial or investment advice. Trading and investing in the stock market both have risks, which means it could lead to potential losses. So make sure to do your own research and due diligence before making your financial decisions. So if you've watched my previous goodbye or goodbye videos, you already know that I'll be dividing this video into 3 parts. So andyan yung facts, speculation, and technicals. But before I talk about those topics, I just want to make a personal disclosure with regards to MWide. So if you're a previous subscriber or viewer ng channel na to, you already know that I have a position sa MWide. So if you're new to this channel, meron akong current position sa MWide no, na hawak ko pa since September. That position is around 2.16 na average price. And I covered this previously sa 24K to 1M challenge. So, yung gamit ko kasi na chart is, yun yung chart software ng broker ko no, for the 24K to 1M challenge. And currently, my position sa 24K to 1M challenge sa portfolio is up by nearly 38%. And also, I have another position which is part of my other portfolio and around 2.33, 2.34 yung position ko dyan, which is up already by 28% and around September ko din to nakuha, which is a much larger position no, compared sa 24K to 1M challenge. So, I'm talking about these positions and as a personal disclosure so that you know kung saan ako nanggagaling, no, where I'm coming from when talking about how I'm going to approach this stock no, later in the video. So, I just want you to keep that in mind and para transparent din tayo na alam nyo na meron akong position sa stock na to. So, again, facts, speculation, and technicals. So, puntahan muna natin yung mga facts. A lot of you might not know, no, yung MWide is actually one of the most advanced, no, biggest construction companies or construction firms sa Pilipinas. So, marami silang mga categories or mga industries na ginagawa ng construction. So, they do residentials. So, they've already made buildings for the SM Group, no? Pagdating sa office, sa Mega World Group, mixed use for Double Dragon Properties, no, hotel and casino, sa mga iba't ibang private corporations dyan, and industrial and warehouse, so nakikita nyo dyan sa landers, and low-cost housing and socialized housing, which I'll also talk about later on this video. And aside from the construction arm of their business, they also have business, no, or revenue coming from providing construction solutions to other companies, no. They provide precast, no, formwork systems, ready mixed concrete, and construction equipment and logistic services. Dalawa sa major infrastructure na nagawa na nila, no, for the country is constructing and previously operating yung Mactan Cebu International Airport, and they're also the company that's responsible for creating, no, constructing yung Clark International Airport. And pagdating naman sa land infrastructure, so if you're from Metro Manila, you already know yung Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange or PITX or PITX. So this was constructed by MWide, no, and is currently being managed by MWide. And other land infrastructure as well, no, Metro Manila Subway Project, Malolos Clark Railway Project, which is still currently in construction, but may mga slight delays, not because of MWide, no, dahil sa delays na yun, it's because of the government and issues with regards to the public. Kasi nagkakaroon ng mga issues pagdating sa mga right of way, no, tapos yung mga pagmamay-aring land ng mga private citizens, no, so nagkakaroon ng delay dyan. Pero a portion or a part of that subway project and railway project, MWide yung responsible for that. And social infrastructure, so they're improving certain public markets, no, sa Cebu, and tumutulong din sila pag-address ng mga pag-construct ng mga classrooms, no, all over the Philippines. And may mga pag-uusapan pa akong ibang social infrastructure later sa video na to. And lastly, no, nagsimula na rin sila to do property development. They're conventional vertical and horizontal projects, no, so residential housing tapos mga condominiums. And yung real estate arm nila dyan is yung PH1 World Developers. So as of December 29, year-to-date performance of MWide is 23.05%. So, double-digit gains, no? But one of the most impressive parts of that statistic is because nagawa nila yon kahit yung market is down, no? So, alam naman natin, walang ibang ginawa yung buong market ngayong taon, kundi mag-sideways or bumaba. So, M-wide is definitely an outlier. And actually, from a 52-week low, no, last week of May, yung price ng M-wide umabot pa ng 1.88 na price area. And as of the December 29 closing price of 2.99, nakapag-increase siya ng nearly 60%. So, that's definitely impressive kasi from the lows, nakabawi siya, no? At sumobra pa ng almost 60%. So, in order to understand how this is happening at ano yung mga posibleng catalyst on why M-wide did this amazing performance, no, sa 2025. So, kailangan muna nating maintindihan on how does M-wide, no, make money. So, as you can see from this pie chart, yung construction segment talaga ng M-wide, yung bulk ng revenue niya, no. So, that's 95%. And may 2% tayo sa land port segment and then real estate segment, which is 3%. But actually, no, if you look at it on a bigger frame, parang 100% construction talaga siya because yung land port segment niya, may ginagawa pa rin silang construction doon. Tapos sa real estate, syempre may construction pa rin dyan, no? But if we're going to be strict about it in terms of revenue, ito talaga yung revenue cut niya or revenue mix. So, pag-usapan muna natin yung land port segment. So, ano ba yung land port? Basically, your land port is like an airport but for land. No, that's why it's called land port. And kung sa airport, mga eroplano, then of course, for a land port, ito yung mga land vehicles, no? And ano ba yung meron sa airport, 'di ba? Merong mga commercial spaces, no? You'll see advertising, marketing space. Kumikita yung airport dahil sa mga terminal fees, no? Mga services na ginagawa nila. So, pagdating sa M-wide, yung equivalent ng airport is ito, yung PITX, no, or PITX. And if you're from Metro Manila or if you work here or napapadaan ka sa area na to because of going into vacations or traveling sa mga provinces, then you already know what PITX is. And yung sources, 'di ba, ng revenue ng land port na to for M-wide, of course, andyan yung terminal fees, maintenance services, tapos may mga commercial spaces because isa to sa mga terminal na may mga maayos na establishments, no? So, merong McDo, merong Jollibee, isa lang yan sa mga famous names na establishments na sa PITX. And they also make money from showing ads or marketing spaces, no, dun mismo sa vicinity, no, or sa loob ng establishments. So this land port segment is actually one of the recurring revenue sources ng M-wide, no? Kasi patuloy silang may nakukuha dyan. Buwan-buwan, quarterly, taon-taon. So, the second one, no, the second segment na meron sila sa revenue is yung real estate segment nila. So, as I mentioned earlier, andyan yung PH1 World Developers where they actually create private housing, no, whether that's vertical or horizontal projects. Just a quick search sa website na yan, no, makikita nyo kung ano yung mga ginagawa nilang types ng mga residential projects. But the thing that I'd like to note, no, talking about PH1 World Developers under M-wide is yung concept ng vertical integration. So basically, when there is a condo that's being built, no, ito yung masasabi mong stages or phases niya, no, in creating that condominium and after the construction of that condominium. So, sa mga ibang firms kasi, no, sa mga ibang companies or corporations, hindi lahat sila in-house, no, yung pagdating sa mga phases na to. So, pwedeng ibang company yung nag-design, ibang company yung gagawa ng engineering, no, yung mga materials, yung pag-manufacture ng materials, pwedeng iba pang company. Tapos, iba rin yung maggagawa ng construction and iba din yung mag-handle ng property development tapos yung sales, no. But the thing about M-wide and PH1 World Developers is somewhat of a vertical integration yung meron sa kanila. Since M-wide is already a construction firm, tapos nakapag-design and nakapag-engineer na sila ng sobrang lalaking infrastructure projects, no, sisiw na lang sa kanila yung mga ganitong residential projects. So, they do the design, they do the engineering, and they manufacture the materials, they do the construction, tapos sila din sa property development and sales. So, ibig sabihin, mas kompleto nila yung makukuhang revenue at income dun, no? Tapos, mas onti yung hahati or kukuha ng revenues nila pagdating dun sa business na to. So, that's definitely good. The third one, which is 95% of the revenue, syempre yung construction segment. So, they actually make money from this construction segment by means of external contracts, no? Whether that's private or public. So, pagdating sa private, ayun nga, yung sabi ko, nakapag-create na sila ng mga different offices, no? Different mixed-use projects, no? Halimbawa, yung sa Double Dragon, tapos mga residential condominiums din for SM or mga ibang infrastructure pa ng SM Group, and also Intra Group, which means they do construction projects na part ng M-Wide Group, no, which I will talk about later. Kasi mapapag-usapan natin dito yung mga subsidiaries or mga sister companies ng M-Wide. Kagaya nga ng kaninang napag-usapan ko din, Construction Solutions, so they provide prefab, precast sa mga ibang companies, no. They provide formwork systems for construction, tapos meron din silang equipment rental services because meron silang modern and advanced equipment na pwede nilang iparenta sa mga ibang construction firms, no. Ito yung revenue na pinakita ko kanina, but if we're going to divide pa yung construction segment, it actually looks more like this, no. Pag dinivide natin yung 95 lang. So, andyan pa rin yung land, port, and real estate, nasa 2 to 3%, pero yung 95 dinivide natin into these 4, no. So, meron actually silang nakukuhang 5% na revenue sa equipment rental and service. Sa construction solutions, 14%. Tapos yung intra-group na construction na ginagawa nila within their corporate map, no, nasa 9%. So, external contracts and under the construction talaga yung malaking revenue source ng M-Wide. So now that we know kung paano nagkakaroon ng pera yung M-Wide and ano yung possible revenue streams nila, the question is, why is M-Wide up year to date, no? Bakit down yung market, hindi maganda yung market? Up siya ng buong 2025 ng 23.05%, no? Tapos nearly 60% from the lows na na-establish niya, no, up to the closing price na itong December 29. So, why is this happening? Unang rason, debt repayments. Okay, so bayad utang. So, I want you to look closely dito sa corporate map na to na galing din mismo naman sa website to ng M-Wide, no. So, yung Citicorp Holdings, no, is actually the main holding company and meron siyang two arms, no, which is Megawide and Citicorp Power or CPI, no? So, yung Citicorp Holdings is CHII and Citicorp Power is CPI. And if you're going to look sa mga subsidiaries ng mga companies na to, you'll see that there are actually 3 main companies na listed sa Philippine stock market or sa Philippine Stock Exchange. So, of course, that's M-Wide, no? Yung pinag-uusapan natin ngayon. And under dun sa Citicorp Power na group, andyan yung Citicorp Renewable Energy or CREC. And under CREC, andyan yung kanilang REIT na arm, which is Citicorp Energy REIT or C-REIT. Last September, no, September 10, there was a disclosure by M-Wide indicating na CHII, which is Citicorp Holdings Investment Incorporated, and CPI, Citicorp Power Incorporated, together will pay M-Wide ng about 9.4 billion pesos. So, ito yung debt repayment. So, apparently, before, no, previously, yung M-Wide kasi may pera, so may utang yung CHII tapos CPI sa kanya, no. Tapos nitong September, nag-decide yung company na bayaran yung M-Wide doon. So ang nangyari diyan is itong CHII, no, will pay M-Wide 3.5 billion in cash and Citicorp Power will give 5.9 billion pesos sa M-Wide pero hindi cash, no. It's going to be an assignment of CREC shares. So basically, bibigyan ng Citicorp Power yung M-Wide ng shares ng CREC that's worth around 5.9 billion pesos. Which leads us to the second reason kung bakit tumaas yung M-Wide netong taon, no? It's because of the acquisition of those CREC shares. So 5.9 billion worth of CREC shares. And yung 5.9 billion na yun, no, is around 9.88% ownership of CREC. So that's nearly 10%. So ibig sabihin, nearly 1/10 of CREC will be owned by M-Wide. So of course, dagdag yun sa valuable assets na meron yung M-Wide, no. So M-Wide benefits from the renewable energy industry because we all know that CREC is nasa industry ng renewable energy, no. And the third reason why M-Wide is up because of its good sentiment is because of government projects. So you might have heard this sa news or read, no, sa mga articles, yung Baguio Terminal. So around October 20, 2025, no, sa Avedra-backed Megawide wins 1.2 billion Baguio Terminal to expand yung land port empire niya. So basically, parang gagawa sila ng mini version ng PITX, no, sa Baguio, which is of course the Baguio Terminal. Bukod sa recurring revenue na makukuha nila sa PITX, so may dagdag naman dito sa bagong terminal na to. ito pa yung mga ibang government projects, no, with relation sa transportation na gagawin nila. SLITX, no, sa Carmona, and yung Cavite Bus Rapid Transit System. So, nag-i-increase sila ng land port portfolio nila. And ito, fairly recently lang, yung 4PH, pambansang pabahay para sa Pilipino. So, low-cost housing for Filipinos. So, nagkaroon sila ng negotiation, no, in partnership with Pag-ibig, as Pag-ibig taps M-Wide for this 10 billion 4PH program. So, isa to sa artist's perspective of a housing project na gagawin sa Bulacan, no. So, Pag-ibig yung may gustong mangyari ng program na to, tapos M-Wide yung na-awardan nila, no, or nakausap nila in order to make this happen. So now that we've talked about the first part of the video, ito yung mga confirmed na natin na nangyari. Ito yung mga disclosures, mga news, no, na lumabas. We're now going to go sa second part ng video, which is about the speculation naman, no, or yung speculative nature ng stock na to, which I would say definitely is a bit subjective, no, kumpara dito sa first part. Kasi this bit is actually more of a part ng research ko at mga nababasa at napapakinggan ko sa different articles, different videos, no, different disclosures, and analyzing overall what could happen. So, pag-uusapan ko muna dito sa speculation part ng video na to yung positive catalysts, no, yung mga positive things that could actually help M-Wide. So, una sa lahat, more public or private projects in the pipeline. So, napag-usapan natin kanina, no, na sobrang laki na part ng revenue mix ng M-Wide kung paano sila nagkakaroon ng pera is by actually doing more construction. So, it's just logical to think na pag dumami yung public or private projects nila, syempre, mas tataas yung revenue nila, mas tataas yung income, which is of course a plus for the company. Iilan lang to sa mga projects na award sa M-Wide, tapos marami pang projects na up for negotiation, no, with regards to their order book. So yung iba na mention ko na, and yung mga iba andito pa, no, na ayun nga, currently in negotiation pa. So as long as M-Wide keeps getting these contracts, no, these construction projects, no, regardless kung anong project man yan, basta may tulong na malaki sa revenue nila and sa income nila, of course, I'd expect na magiging positive catalyst or positive news yon that will definitely affect their stock price. So the second catalyst, no, the second positive thing that I like about M-Wide is yung management. So if you have time, no, after watching this video, or you have free time to spare, so I implore you to watch these videos, no, na podcast. Although medyo mahaba, yung isa nasa 57 minutes, itong full interview nung founder ng Megawide, no, si Mr. Edgar Saavedra, with Ka Tunying, no, sa Tune In kay Tunying na channel, and this one sa part ng Billionario News channel, so that's around 1 hour 18 minutes. So both of these podcasts, ang in-interview si Mr. Edgar Saavedra, kung ano yung history ng M-Wide, no, kung ano yung currently ginagawa nila, and you can also know about somewhat of future plans for M-Wide. So one thing I've noticed sa management, no, under kay Mr. Edgar Saavedra is how innovative yung M-Wide. So marami siyang napag-usapan at marami siyang nasabi. So one thing that I really found interesting dun sa mga podcast na to is that meron palang traditional way, no, ng paggagawa ng construction or ng engineering. So, syempre, I don't know naman itong mga bagay na to, no, before I made research sa mga bagay na to, since, of course, when you're about to consider certain stocks, no, for a position trade or for a long-term investment, syempre, importante nire-research mo itong mga companies na to. So, this is what I found out. So, sa traditional construction pala, ito yung sample niyan, no. Kung may gagawin na building, kung may gagawin na infrastructure, sa mismong location ginagawa, which is of course, logical, di ba? May gagawin kang building, may gagawin kang bahay or what. Siyempre, dun mo gagawin yung semento, di ba? Dun ka gagawa ng pader, dun mo ililay yung mga bricks, dun ka gagawa ng mga formworks, right? So, ayan, parang buhos, di ba? Nakikita naman natin yan, binubuhos ng mga construction workers, no? Mga labor, yung mga parts ng building, no? Or part ng ginagawang infrastructure. But M-Wide somehow changed this concept na kung saan mas ginawa nilang modernize, no, yung construction. So, basically, yung ginagawa ng M-Wide, meron silang, you could say, factory or establishment na kung saan, dun nila ginagawa yung mga certain parts ng building or parts ng infrastructure. Tapos they make sure na quality, no, consistent, tapos yun nga, maayos talaga yung pagkagawa ng mga parts na to. Tapos saka nila tinatransport dun sa location mismo. So ibig sabihin pre-made, no? So precast or prefab yung ginagawa nila na to. And they started this around 2012. So they're actually the first precast plant in the Philippines. And during the launch, isa na to sa pinaka-advanced na precast facility sa buong Pilipinas, no? Tapos itong facility nga nila is nasa May Rizal and is actually that time the second largest in Southeast Asia, 'di ba? So isipin mo 'yon, pagdating dito sa construction technology na to, yung Philippines yung isa sa mga largest, no, at yung pangalawa na leading kahit most of the world considers us as a third world country, no. So itong Megawide, gusto nila maging innovative, no? They want to lead the innovation dito sa Pilipinas pagdating sa construction. And I remember he mentioned pa nga sa podcast na nearly 50% ng mga buildings or infrastructure sa Japan is already made through precast or prefab, 'di ba? So, kung ginagawa ng Japan yun, it's a developed country, one of the richest countries in the world. So, definitely they're doing something right, no? So, Megawide following suit sa technology na yon at sa improvement na yon is definitely a plus, no? That's why I see that they're very innovative. And sabi nga dun sa podcast, no, I think the reason why MWide is being this innovative, it's because of their mission and vision na they want to engineer a first world Philippines. Na kahit nga third world country tayo, hindi ibig sabihin nun na hindi pwedeng, pati yung mga construction natin dito, third world din, di ba? Dapat first world. So, alam naman natin, no, several times na itong naging headline na NAIA is actually one of the worst airports sa mundo. So, several studies showed. So, kung makikita niyo yung mga ginagawang projects ng MWide, no, makikita mo yung difference nitong mga airports na ginawa nila compared sa mga airports na nasa major cities or major places sa Philippines, no. Makukumpara mo talaga kung gaano kalupit yung pagkagawa ng MWide sa mga airports na to. And ito nga, no, yung isa sa mga nagawa nilang airport was named as the best airport in the Asia Pacific. So that's really amazing, no, coming from a third world country na na-awardan tayo ng mga ganitong awards, no. And the thing that's really impressive about the management is yung pagiging resourceful and humble nila. So, na-mention kasi niya dun sa video na never naman siya yung naging pinakamatalinong estudyante, no, sa batch nila or sa klase nila. Like, he often jokes around na ano nga daw siya, 4th or 5th row siya, no? Kumbaga siya yung part ng mga boys at the back. Tapos, sakto lang yung mga grades, no? Pumapasa lang siya. Tapos, na-mention niya doon na sa klase, it looked like it was a disadvantage. Pero, habang tumatanda siya, tapos, nung nagkaroon na siya ng business, na-realize niya na parang advantage pala yun because dahil wala siyang alam, no? Wala siyang masyadong alam, pero ang dami niyang gustong matutunan, nag-seek siya ng help, no, sa mga experts. So, andun yung humility and yung pagiging resourceful niya para maghanap ng mga experts na makakatulong sa negosyo niya. And napag-usapan pa nga niya doon na nung nagsisimula sila, bumibili lang sila ng mga second hand ng mga equipment, no, from German construction firms, from German engineers, up to eventually nakakapag-upgrade na sila ng equipment, tapos nakakakuha na sila ng mga important na mga systems sa mga Germans, no. Tapos eventually nag-hire na sila, tapos nagkakaroon sila ng mga employees from Japan. Kasi, syempre, di ba, mga Japanese engineers, ng mga German engineers, mga magagaling talaga sila. Pagdating dun sa formwork systems nila, meron silang proprietary German systems dun. Tapos, meron nga silang mga technology from Japan with regards to the precast. So, ayan, including yung SQ rim na method, no, for their structural elements. So, hindi lang sila innovative, but you can also say na isa sila sa may mga pinaka-quality, tapos modern na technology pagdating sa construction, no? So, that's why some of the major companies, some of the major corporations sa Philippines, sila talaga yung pinipili kasi yung MWide is actually a quadruple A contractor, no? Konting tangent lang, I'm not really sure kung bakit hindi binibigay sa mga ganitong type ng companies or mga ganitong type ng contractors yung mga important infrastructure at mga projects sa Pilipinas, 'di ba? So kung isipin mo, kung ibibigay siguro sa mga ganitong companies yung mga flood control projects, yung mga malalaking kalsada, 'di ba, yung mga malalaking buildings, siguro mas less yung mangyayaring issues because the thing about private contractor, syempre, hindi sila na monitor maayos, 'di ba? Kaya nga nakalusot yung mga corruption scandals na yan eh. But if you're going to award these projects sa mga company na publicly listed, no, na quadruple A contractors, madaling habulin, no, madaling malaman pag nagkaroon ng issue because kapag sila yung nag-create ng flood control project sa certain region or sa certain city or municipality, pag nagka-issue doon, mahabol mo kaagad sila because they're a publicly listed company, no? Pwedeng mabash sila tapos magdi-decrease yung stock price. So, of course, they're gonna make sure that they do a great job kasi babalik at babalik sa kanila yun, di ba? Yung reputational risk, no? Skin in the game. So, but I don't know, apparently, kung ba't hindi ginagawa ng gobyerno yun. So, suggestion ko lang naman. So, anyway, move on tayo. So, the third positive catalyst, I think, isa to sa mga pinaka-importanting catalyst for M-Wide. And hindi ko alam kung bakit hindi siya masyadong napapag-usapan. So, let's face it guys, no? Yung Philippines does not have a large positive exposure in the AI boom. So, alam naman natin, no, grabe na yung nagiging progress pagdating dito sa artificial intelligence, no, whether that's for services, whether that's for certain industries, 'di ba? Magkakaroon pa ng mga robot, magkakaroon pa ng mga highly advanced agents, no, highly advanced software applications. So, siguro ngayon may nagsisimula na ng mga Philippine companies or mga firms with regards to these things, pero wala pa talagang outlier or wala ka pa talagang masisingle out na itong company na to sobrang galing, magbe-benefit to sa AI boom, no? So parang halos wala pa. So the thing about AI kasi, no, and the thing about these hyperscalers, yung AI kasi isa sa mga pinakakailangan yan, no, lalo na dito sa increasing internet or data consumption sa Philippines is yung data centers. So basically, this is going to be a very simplified explanation, pero yung data centers kasi, no, ito yung mga infrastructure or mga buildings na kung saan kinikeep safe, no, yung mga equipment, yung mga materials, yung mga servers na tumutulong sa pag-process nitong mga AI at data na to. So that's why they're called data centers. And the thing about data centers is that importante siya dito sa magiging AI boom, no, data na boom, because these industries will need processing power so much. And this article, no, around first week of March nung 2023, sinabi dito sa article na to, ito nga, Going Digital, Megawide to build Philippine data center with Singapore-based Evolution Data Centers. So basically, yung Evolution Data Centers ay makikipag-partner sa M-Wide para gumawa ng data center dito sa Philippines. Sino ba yung Evolution Data Centers? So, they're actually a Singapore-based, no, na company, and ang ginagawa nila is they're building, owning, and operating data center infrastructure to support cloud and AI growth across Southeast Asian emerging markets. So, ano nila, no? Focus nila itong Southeast Asia, which is of course part yung Pilipinas, in order to capture itong AI growth na nangyayari. So, anong significance at nakipag-partner yung M-Wide sa Evolution Data Centers? So, just a quick research lang, no? You can research this by yourself. Yung Evolution Data Centers is actually partly owned by two major companies, no? So, here's an article, no, around September 2022. So, Warburg Pincus invests in Evolution Data Centers, which is ito nga, Singapore-based developer, no? So, sino ba or ano ba yung Warburg Pincus? So, isa lang naman silang pioneer pagdating sa private equity na global growth investing. So, meron silang 55 plus years na pagdating sa growth investing. So, nakapag-invest na sila ng more than $125 billion, no? Meron silang 1,000 companies under them. Tapos, yung AUM nila, no, assets under management, around 85 billion. So, isipin mo yan, no? Sa loob ng 5 dekada, andyan pa rin yung Warburg Pincus, tapos nag-i-invest sila ng maayos, no, sa mga growth companies all over the world. And the second company, no, or second firm that owns itong Evolution Data Centers is yung Zero2. So, ano ba yung Zero2? So, yung Zero2 is a firm na is focused sa digital infrastructure development. Tapos, itong investment platform na to is headquartered in Abu Dhabi. So, basically, yung 02 is actually a part of the sovereign wealth fund ng Abu Dhabi. So, alam naman natin, di ba, na sobrang yaman ng country na yan. And they actually have a sovereign wealth fund that invests in different companies in different countries. And they decided to actually invest sa Evolution Data Centers. So, ang sinasabi lang naman ito, if these two major firms, these two major giants are investing sa Evolution Data Centers, tapos itong Evolution Data Centers, pwede silang makipag-partner or pwede silang makipag-business sa mga iba't ibang companies dito sa Philippines, bakit M-Wide yung isa sa mga pinili nila? So, basically, andun yung nakikita nila na magaling yung M-Wide, diba? Kasi ba't ka naman makikipag-partner sa negosyo na sa tingin mong hindi okay? So, ano naman yung magiging benefit actually ng data center pagdating sa M-Wide? So, napag-usapan natin to kanina, ito nga yung three major sources ng revenue ng M-Wide, Yung land port segment nila, yung sa PITX, tapos eventually yung magkakaroon sila ng mga land port pa sa mga iba't ibang lugar sa Pilipinas. Tapos yung real estate nila na kung saan gumagawa sila ng mga housing projects, whether that's condominiums or horizontal housing projects. Tapos ayun nga yung construction segment, So, pag nagkaroon na ng data centers under sa M-Wide, so syempre magkakaroon sila ng additional recurring revenue. Kasi sa usapang construction projects, more on one-off lang siya . Magawa mo yung construction na yun, tapos matapos, wala ka naman ng nakukuhang income dun. And since 95% ng revenue ng M-Wide, puro mga one-off na mga projects, isang malakihan, tapos yun na yung makukuha nilang revenue at income. Sobrang nakakatulong kung meron silang mga business na kung saan may patuloy na pumapasok na pera, Kaya nga recurring revenue. So, ibig sabihin, mas magiging stable yung income ng company. Tapos hindi sila laging nakaasa kung magkakaroon ba ng future projects, So, the fourth catalyst, yung CREC shares na napag-usapan natin kanina. So, 9.88% of CREC is actually owned by M-Wide. So, kung ang market cap ng CREC naglalaro sa around 47-48 billion pesos, that means, at present, yung 4.6 to 4.7 billion worth of CREC shares na yon is owned by M-Wide. So, ibig sabihin, yung M-Wide may stake na around 4.6 to 4.7 billion sa CREC. And bakit naman importante yung CREC shares na to, So, if you're going to look at this image, it's an image na kinuha ko sa isang article, nakalagay dito na first half ng 2025, yung share ng renewables pagdating sa global electricity from 32.7% last time, naging ng 34.3%. Tapos, yung coal naman from 34.2% pumunta sa 33.1%. So, crucial yung nangyari ngayong taon because na-overtake na ng renewables yung coal pagdating sa global electricity. So, from 34.2 and 32.7, naging na silang 34.3 tapos 33.1. And aside from that, meron kasing goal yung Philippines na i-increase yung power generation from renewables, So, around 20-22% tayo ngayon. Tapos, ang objective ng Philippines is by 2030, around 35% natin galing sa renewables. And by 2040, about 50%, So, sa 50% na renewable energy na yon, the bulk of that, of course, is gonna come from solar. And yung solar na chunk na yon, magbe-benefit talaga yung CREC because yung CREC, diba, is primarily a company that generates electricity from solar. So, as CREC continues to grow, M-Wide benefits by increasing the value of their assets. Kasi nga, meron silang nearly 10% na stake sa CREC, diba? So, ibig sabihin, kung lalaki yung CREC, syempre yung M-Wide lalaki din kasi owner sila ng CREC . And eventually, if CREC gives out dividends, diba, kung dumadami na yung pera nila, gumaganda na yung income nila, tapos willing na silang mag-give out ng dividends, then of course, may potential income dyan for M-Wide na recurring income, Depende kung gaano kadalas magbigay yung CREC ng dividends. So, the fifth one na catalyst is yung strategic integration. So, what do I mean by this? As M-Wide begins to build data centers, so yung data centers na yon, syempre, it will be needing power or electricity. So, ang tanong, saan manggagaling yung power na yon? Where will the electricity come from? So, you guessed it right. Evolution Data Centers signs MOU with Citicore Renewable Energy for 100 megawatts of renewable power for hyperscale data centers. So, yung Evolution Data Centers, nakipag-partner na, no? Nakikipag-negotiate na dito sa CREC na CREC yung magpa-power ng data center nila. So, ayan yung sinasabi kong strategic integration because M-Wide, no, builds this data center or data centers. Tapos, itong M-Wide, makakakuha sila ng pera, no, earns rent from those data centers. And then, on top of that, M-Wide earns money from those data center operations. Tapos, mag-earn pa yung CREC ng pera from powering those data centers, which indirectly benefits M-Wide. So, may strategic integration pagdating dun sa mga core businesses nila. Tapos sa partnerships na meron sila, no? So, hindi natin alam, pwedeng sa sobrang galing or sa sobrang lupit ng gawin ng M-Wide dito sa Evolution Data Centers, pwedeng kahit yung mga projects, no, na labas sa Pilipinas, pwedeng M-Wide pa rin yung maging partner nila, no? So, hindi natin alam. But, alam natin so far na dito sa Pilipinas at sa ginagawa nilang data center, ito yung strategic integration na mangyayari. So, the last catalyst that I see for M-Wide is yung dividend declaration. So, yung dividend declarations ng M-Wide, no, for the past, sobrang irregular. So, sa loob ng 5 taon, they've only given dividends 3 times para sa common shares. So, hindi kasi natin pinag-uusapan dito yung preferred shares eh. Kasi yung preferred shares, more of utang yun, diba? Itong sa common shares, wala pa silang binibigay. So, ito yung mga dates at mga amount, no, na nabigay nila for the past 5 years. So, nung January, 0.12 pesos per share. Nung March, 0.50. Nung June, 0.50 din. So, kung titingnan natin yung div rate niyan, around 0.77%, no, 12.69%, 15.62%. So, the reason why is because, nasabi ko nga nung umpisa, onti lang kasi yung recurring revenue ng M-Wide eh. So, syempre, you don't expect them to give out regular dividends. So, nagkakaroon sila ng mga ganitong type ng dividends. So, siguro, nung time na yun, sobrang laki ng perang nakuha nila. Dahil sa mga project na nagawa nila, nag-decide sila magbigay sa mga shareholders, no? So, nakabigay sila ng ganyang kataas na dividends. So, yung catalyst dito na nakikita ko is that if M-Wide, no, will be successful in creating further recurring revenue, or may indication na tataas or lalaki yung recurring revenue nila, o di kaya nagkaroon sila ng mataas na increase, no? Kasi ang dami nilang nakukuhang construction projects, ang dami nilang posibleng makuhang projects in the future, no, mataas yung order book nila, baka posible na magbigay sila ng dividends, no? Kasi magtatatlong taon na simula nung huli silang nagbigay. Kung titingnan natin dito sa date nila, no, January 2020 tapos March 2023. So, kung hula analysis lang naman, parang 3 years yung pagitan, 'di ba? So, ibig sabihin ba nun, kung sobrang ganda nung income or sobrang nakikita nila magiging okay itong 2026, no, baka naman magbigay sila ng dividends, no, sa 1Q 2026. So, I see that as a possible catalyst, no? Pero depende. Kasi nakadepende dun sa dividend declaration announcement nila or disclosure kung ano ba yun, kung one-time dividend lang ba or di-decide sila magbigay ng regular dividend. So, depende sa type ng dividend na ibibigay, no? Depende rin yung magiging effect nun sa price. But definitely, no, regardless kung regular man yan or one-time divs, pwedeng maging positive catalyst yun para gumalaw yung price pataas. So, before we go to the next segment of the video, so, I just checked, no, recently yung sa analytics pagdating sa subscribers. So, previously, yung mga subscribers, no, below 1.5 pa. And then, by the end of the year, no, umabot na ng around 1,800. So, ito nga, 1,811. So, I just wanna give thanks, no, sa mga viewers at mga subscribers ng channel na to for continually watching the videos and subscribing sa channel. So, kung bago ka pa lang sa channel na to and you found value sa video na to or kung marami kang natututunan, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel para lagi kang updated sa mga future videos ko. So, balik na tayo sa discussion. So, for the first part of the speculation, pinag-usapan natin yung positive catalysts. So, syempre, pag-usapan naman natin yung risks, no, pagdating sa M-Wide. So, una sa lahat, since yung major catalyst niya is part ng construction segment ng revenue mix ng M-Wide, syempre, isa sa mga pinaka-negative na catalyst niyan pag nag-decrease yung public or private projects nila, no? Since ito yung bread and butter ng M-Wide, kapag yung gobyerno natin, no, nag-decide pa rin sila na yung mga importanteng projects dito sa Pilipinas is ma-assign sa different companies, no, sa different private na mga contractors, no, mga subcontractors, Then, of course, mababawasan ng kita yung M-Wide kung wala masyadong projects na ma-award sa kanila. Or di kaya may mga ibang private companies, no, na maging preferred nila yung ibang mga contractors or mga ibang construction companies, no. So, di naman natin mapipredict. Malay mo may mga ibang construction firms dyan na maging mas innovative, no? Mas magkaroon ng better technology. So, syempre competition pa rin yan. Marami namang magagaling na contractor sa Pilipinas, no? Yung mga legit talaga, mga AAA contractors, quadruple A. So, andun pa rin lagi yung competition pagdating sa M-Wide na pwede silang mabawasan ng revenue pag yung mga ibang companies sa Philippines mag-decide na yun ang kunin ng mga companies, no? So, pangalawa, sobrang importante na positive catalyst nitong data centers sa M-Wide. So, ibig sabihin, pag yung data center plans nila nag-fail, no? So, ibig sabihin, nagkaroon ng mga issues dyan pagdating sa construction or operations or regulations ng gobyerno at hindi nag-scale, no? Hindi sila nakagawa ng 2-3 na mga data centers at hindi ganun kaganda yung naging performance ng mga data centers na yun. Wala silang masyadong nakuwang mga hyperscalers or mga clients. Then, ibig sabihin, walang additional recurring revenue for M-Wide, no? Hindi sila makakakuha ng business, no, labas dun sa original na revenue mix nila, dun sa chart na pinakita ko. So, ibig sabihin, hindi sila magkakaroon ng regular na income. So, pwedeng tingnan nyo ng mga investors or ng mga traders as a negative na nakaasa lang sila sa construction tas wala silang ibang business na pinagkukuhanan ng pera, no? So, pag nagkataon na nag-fail yung mga data centers nila, syempre yung shares nila sa CREC mas magiging less strategic kasi nga, napag-usapan natin kanina yung strategic integration na kung saan partner ng Evolution Data Centers yung CREC pagdating sa pag-power nitong mga data centers na to. So, syempre, wala na yun, di ba? Kasi kung wala yung data centers, edi magbe-benefit lang talaga itong M-Wide sa CREC kung talagang lalago yung CREC, no, in terms of the renewable energy industry. Which leads us to the third risk, no, CREC issues. So, since may nearly 10% stake yung M-Wide sa CREC, ibig sabihin pag nagka-issue tong CREC, no, regardless kung ano yan, kung regulations ng gobyerno, kung hindi maganda yung business nila, kung nasira yung mga infrastructure nila, kung nagkaroon ng mga bagyo, no, nagkaroon ng mga kung anong delubyo para masira yung mga plants nila or kung ano pa man, syempre, magli-lead yun sa lower valuation ng CREC. Syempre, imposibleng mataas pa rin yung stock price niya, no, pag nagkaroon ng mga issues pagdating dito sa mga na-mention ko nga kanina. So, kung bababa yung stock price ng CREC, bababa yung valuation ng CREC, syempre magiging negative yun sa M-Wide kasi bababa yung valuation ng mga assets ng M-Wide. Eh, syempre nga, yung CREC, diba, assets na yun ngayon ng M-Wide. So, of course, indirectly affected yung M-Wide kahit anong mangyari sa CREC. So, kung magkaroon man ng issue sa CREC, so, mahirapan silang makapagbigay ng dividends, no, in the future. So, walang makukuhang relevant na income yung M-Wide galing sa CREC. So, the fourth negative catalyst or risk for M-Wide kung wala pa rin silang ibigay na dividends, no dividend declaration. So, ngayon kasi, no, at present, M-Wide is actually seen as a speculative stock, no? Kasi wala pa naman silang napapakita sa mismong financial statements nila kung gaano kalupit yung company. So, more on speculation at yung potential lang ng mga business na meron siya yung nakikita ng mga investors dito. That's why the stock has been very volatile, no? So, most of the investors or traders are actually factoring in kung ano yung pwede niyang magawa in the future dito sa present price niya. So, since most of the catalysts are based on potential, kagaya ng napag-usapan natin kanina, pag nagkaroon siya ng dividends tapos backed by recurring income, it can actually play a great role as a signal for investor confidence na nakikita nilang nag-i-improve talaga yung M-Wide. So, mas magiging seryoso, no, yung mga investors dito sa M-Wide kasi nakikita nila na bukod sa future potential nung company, may nakukuha silang income at maayos na dividends. So, that means kung wala silang mabigay na dividends, no, walang maayos na dividend declaration, pwedeng maging risk yun na hindi tumaas yung stock further kasi based lang sa speculation yung galaw niya. So, for the third segment ng video na to, we're now going to talk about the technicals. So we're going to talk about the price action of M-Wide. Pag-uusapan ko yung short term, medium term, and long-term outlook niya pagdating sa charts as well as the key levels. So punta tayo sa M-Wide na chart. So for M-Wide, in terms of the short term and medium term na price action or movement niya, makikita natin na yung M-Wide is actually currently in a consolidation. So kung ilalabas ko yung moving average 20, makikita natin na yung candles na pierce ng MA20. So ang ibig sabihin kasi niyan, whenever we see the moving averages move inside the candles, ibig sabihin nasa short-term consolidation or nasa short-term sideways siya. So that means it's somehow unpredictable kung tataas pa siya or bababa kasi nasa sideways movement. And if I'm going to remove yung MA20 tapos ilalagay ko yung MA50, we can also see na the candles recently are being pierced also by the MA50. And MA50 kasi represents most of the time yung medium term na galaw ng stock. So, we could say na nagta-transition into a medium term consolidation yung M-Wide. So, on the short term and medium term na scale, nasa consolidation at sideways movement lang tayo. But if I'm going to remove yung MA50, tapos ilalabas ko yung MA100, we can see na since September, never pang natamaan ng M-Wide candles yung MA100. So, this basically means na since the start of September and probably late August, yung M-Wide was already transitioning into a long-term uptrend. So hanggang ngayon, nasa long-term uptrend pa naman yung M-Wide dahil hindi pa niya natatamaan yung MA100 at intact pa naman yung long-term uptrend niya. So this basically means na on a longer-term scenario, yung M-Wide nasa uptrend pa siya. So pag tinanggal ko ulit yung moving averages, we're now going to look at the possible patterns na ginagawa ng M-Wide, So, in terms of the pattern na kine-create ng M-Wide, there's actually two ways on how you can look at it. So, previously kasi, before the start of December, around November, ang kine-create na malaking pattern ng M-Wide is actually a falling wedge. At paano ko nakita yan or paano ko ginagawa? It's very simple, for the upper resistance line, pupunta ka lang sa isang swing high niya, which is this level. Tapos, ipa-plot mo dito next sa point B. So, ito kasi swing high yan And then, you're just going to extend this. So, ito siya. And then, pagdating naman dun sa kanyang support line, which is nasa baba, maghahanap ka lang ng swing low. So, ito siya. And then, yung point B is another swing low, which is of course this area here. And i-extend mo lang. So, ito, nakapag-create siya ng falling wedge, And ang ibig sabihin lang naman ng falling wedge na to is that may potential yung stock na puntahan yung pattern up until makapag-decide siya na mag-breakout. So, ito nga nangyari nung around 21 November, 24 November na nakapag-breakout yung M-Wide. And whenever I see kasi itong mga falling wedge na mga patterns, hindi ko sinasabing 100% mangyayari to, but if the stock makes a move outside of that pattern, may price area siya or may potential siyang puntahan itong price na to. And how do I do that? Ang ginagawa ko lang is ipa-plot ko yung pinakamababang point nung pattern, tapos yung pinakamataas. So, in this case, yung point A niya. Tapos, kung saan nangyari yung breakout, ipa-plot ko doon yung range. So, ito siya. So, ibig sabihin, kung titingnan natin yung potential price na pupuntahan ng M-Wide, kung i-base lang natin sa pattern alone, pwede siyang umabot ng 3.94. Ilalagay ko dito, falling wedge, pattern target. So, ayan yung posible niyang puntahan based sa pattern target alone lang. And yung pangalawang pattern na nakikita kong ginagawa ng M-Wide, so kung matagal ka nang nanonood sa channel ko, you already know about the downward channel pattern, So, simple lang yan. Ilalagay ko lang yung point A ulit dito, tapos point B, kasi pareha silang swing high, tapos i-extend ko lang. And then, I'm also going to plot yung point A dito, tapos point B, at i-extend ko lang din ulit, So, ibig sabihin, on the bearish side of things, yung negative, yung M-Wide pwede niyang puntahan itong mga levels na to, yung mga prices na to, kung walang mangyaring positive at puro negative lang yung galaw ng M-Wide, Ito yung pwedeng sundan yung pattern. And paano natin malalaman kung ano yung target price nito kapag nalagpasan niya yung pattern na to? So, halos parehas lang din sa falling wedge. Ipa-plot lang natin yung bottom part part ng pattern tapos yung highest part. So, ito pa rin naman yun. Tapos, ipa-plot natin kung saan may potential siya mag-breakout. So, halimbawa, dito natin ilalagay. So, makikita natin na halos may confluence pagdating sa falling wedge pattern target tapos dito sa downward channel pattern na target, no? So, pag halimbawa naman, mas pinalate natin yung target, no? Baka dito. So, pwedeng ang abutin lang niya 3.79. Pag pinaaga naman natin yung breakout, no? Yung paglabas niya dun sa pattern target, ang sinasabi sa atin dito, 4.09, no? So, ibig sabihin, yung 3.95 up to 4.09, pwede palang maging pattern target ng M-wide. So, lalagyan ko na lang dito ng channel target, no? And if I'm actually going to look towards the left, dito sa M-wide, makikita natin na itong area na to is actually significant. Bakit? Kasi meron siyang 3 instances kung saan nagkaroon ng resistance, no? So, itong 3.80 na level, tapos itong 4, and then itong 4.32. So, ibig sabihin pala, resistance itong 380 before, tapos resistance pa yung 4.33. No? So, kung babalikan natin yung present chart niya, makikita natin na makapal na resistance, no? Yung 3.80 to 4.33. Because this is actually a major resistance, 3.80, tapos 4.33, tapos yung pattern target pa niya, nasa 3.95 to 4.09. So, that probably explains kung bakit nagkaroon ng resistance dito sa 3.69. Probably may mga nag-anticipate na hindi niya malalagpasan yung 3.80 kaya nagkaunahan na sa benta dito, no? But still, no, maganda na intact pa rin naman yung long-term uptrend ng M-wide. So, if we're going to look sa left pa ulit, above 4.33, ano pa ba yung mga posibleng sources ng resistance ng M-wide pag nagkataon? So, I can see that there's a resistance here again sa 5.52. Tapos, meron pang resistance sa 5.70. And sobrang dami ditong resistance dahil may previous support siya around 5.96. So, pwede ko nang i-consider to around 6, no? Dahil psych resistance din. So, ibig sabihin pala nito, above 4.33, yung sunod niya na resistance na malakas or makakapigil sa kanya is yung mga around 5.52 to 6 na price area. And then, after that, no? Kung pupuntahan pa natin yung mga previous resistances niya, meron pa tayo dito sa 6.85, tapos yung around 750 na area. So, ito siya. So, ibig sabihin, marami-raming resistance na kailangan lagpasan or tamaan yung M-wide, no? So, pagdating naman sa support, syempre, itong level na to, itong 2.69, importanteng support level na to kasi ayun yung previous support niya eh. So, syempre support na yan. Tapos, kung titingnan natin sa baba ng 2.69 na yan, meron tayong previous resistance dito sa 2.49, no? 2.50 area. So, support to ulit. And then, dito sa previous range niya, around 2.30, I can also consider this as a possible support also. So, ayan yung mga key levels ng M-wide. Tapos kung ano yung nakikita kong posibleng galaw niya in the short term, medium term, and long term. So, na-mention ko nga sa earlier part ng video na to na meron akong position sa M-wide with regards to the 24K to 1M challenge na nabili ko itong M-wide, no? Nung first week of September pa. That's why I have a position here na around 2.16. Tapos, sa isang portfolio ko, I also have a position sa M-wide na nabili ko at nakapag-average up ako. Tapos, around 2.34 yung price, no? So, yung trading thesis at yung investment thesis ko pagdating sa M-wide na pag-usapan ko actually sa 24K to 1M challenge at sa mga exclusive videos na available sa mga members ng private group at ng private community ng channel na to. So, if you're interested to learn yung approach ko sa M-wide and sa mga future developments pa sa stock na to and also yung mga stocks na laman ng portfolio ko at kung ano yung mga stocks na I'm monitoring to buy. So, you can decide to become a member of Traders Table or Market Masters. So, yung mga nakikita nyo dito sa screen, ayan yung mga benefits, no, mga perks at mga exclusive videos na makukuha nyo if you become a member nitong Traders Table and Market Masters. So, to be a part of this private community and group, you can just send me an email, no, sa email address na to and lagay nyo lang dyan sa subject membership and just send me itong 3 details na to sa email na yon. So, for the conclusion of this video, pagdating sa short term or medium term ng M-wide, I'd be interested to buy and add sa M-wide positions ko if there are trade setups available in combination with certain catalysts that I mentioned earlier, no? Since I already have a position sa M-Wide at mababa yung average ko, I'm no longer in the position na mag-a-add ako just because I see na may potential yung stock. Kasi nga, meron na akong position eh. So, I need certain catalysts to be there for me to be incentivized na taasan pa yung average price ko at take in more risks, no? But when it comes to the long term, I think M-Wide really needs to have yung mga positive catalysts na na-mention ko kanina. So, pagdating sa construction projects, if M-Wide has more projects in their order book, regardless kung government or private corporations, or di kaya mas grabe yung revenue or income na makukuha nila sa certain projects, I think kung mapakita nilang ganito or they show that they're able to do this, then for me, long-term, M-Wide would be okay. Pagdating naman dito sa data centers na catalyst, kung meron pa silang mga further announcements regarding their data center plans, possible update for the earning estimates, kasi wala pa silang masyadong pinag-uusapan with regards to this data center thing eh. And nung nag-check ako, 2026, 2027 pa yung possible phase 1 daw eh. So, I'm waiting for that announcement regarding M-Wide kung ano na yung plano nila doon at updates. Tapos pagdating naman sa CREC, I want more catalysts showing up for CREC, na they're performing better. Kasi nga, sabi ko kanina, M-Wide will directly or indirectly benefit from these catalysts. And pagdating naman dito sa dividends, investors might take this stock seriously if yung dividends maging regular, because at the present, M-Wide is really speculative in nature. So sa ngayon, yung paggalaw ng stock based on potential, So, eventually, investors will seek yung clarity, diba? At kasiguraduhan sa stock na to. That's why sa tingin ko mas magi-improve siya kung somehow magmamaterialize hindi lang yung mga catalyst but also pagdating dito sa dividend side of things. So, long term, if yung M-Wide na-maintain niya lang yung status niya na to or nag-improve ng a little bit compared sa price range niya ngayon, I think yung upside is somehow limited. I think between 3 to 4 na price area. And if certain catalysts nagmaterialize in the long term, you can probably see M-Wide going 4 to 6 pesos per share, kasi medyo makapal, yung mga resistances na nakita natin kanina above 4 pesos nung napag-usapan ko yung technical side of things. So I think it would take certain catalysts to show up para malabanan ng M-Wide yung price levels na yon at magstay siya doon, Because clearly, kung ano yung mga catalysts at present ay hindi enough para paabutin yung price doon. Kasi if those catalysts were indeed sobrang ganda, hindi matagal lang nakapunta yung price doon, diba? So it definitely needs more catalysts in order to reach that price area. And very optimistic scenario na yung 7 to 8 pesos na range. And it would probably take itong mga catalyst na napag-usapan ko na halos lahat sila magkaroon ng positive, at may dumagdag pa na mga ibang catalyst na hindi ko alam or hindi ko napag-usapan sa video na to. So, for the downside, I think yung downside ng M-Wide is around 2.30 to 2.50 na price area. And I'll explain to you why with a simple computation, simple formula sa Excel or Google Sheets. So first, I'm going to type here M-Wide outstanding shares. So this data is available sa www.pseedge.com. So it's the official website, one of the official websites of the PSE. So pag tiningnan mo dito, yung outstanding shares ng M-Wide, it's gonna be around 2 billion. And next thing that I'm going to type is yung stock price ng M-Wide. So, as of December 29 closing, that's 2.99. So, if we're going to come up with the market capitalization of M-Wide, all we have to do is multiply yung outstanding shares tapos yung stock price. So, M-Wide is around 6 billion pesos, So, the next one, yung CREC outstanding shares, again, you can check this PSE Edge, That's around 11 billion. And gaya lang din ng kanina, we're going to put here the CREC stock price. So as of December 29 market closing, that's 4.28. So of course, same formula lang in order to come up with the CREC market cap. So that's CREC outstanding shares times CREC stock price. So that's around 47.7 billion pesos yung kanilang market cap, If M-Wide owns 9.88%, nearly 10% of CREC, ang gagawin ko lang dito, yung CREC market cap, no, i-multiply ko lang ng 0.0988. So, you could say that M-Wide owns 4.7 billion pesos nga ng CREC. So, if the outstanding shares of M-Wide is 2 billion, kung tatanggalin ko yung business ng M-Wide na labas lahat ng mga revenue sources nila, whether that's construction, real estate, land port, alisin mo na lahat. So, in order to come up with the M-Wide stock price na based lang sa CREC ownership nila, gaya ng sabi ko, kung wala na lahat ng M-Wide business side of things, no, meron silang 4.7 billion worth na CREC. Pag dinivide ko to sa outstanding shares na meron yung M-Wide, lalabas 2.344, no? So, ibig sabihin lang nun, kung walang M-Wide na business, tapos ibe-base lang natin yung stock price ng M-Wide sa CREC shares na meron sila, which is 4.7 billion, tapos yung outstanding shares is 2 billion, lalabas na yung stock price ng M-Wide is 2.34. So, that's why I said that the downside of Megawide is around 2.30 up to 2.50 na price area. Like I said, yung risk number 3 is yung CREC issues because by itself, M-Wide can go to 230 to 250 if the company has issues or negative catalysts, no? So, pag nangyari lahat ng mga kung ano-anong negatives pagdating sa construction business ng M-Wide, pwede talagang mahila pababa yung stock price. But, it can only go lower than 230 if CREC encounters issues because valuation of M-Wide goes lower. So, kung titingnan mo, yung 230 na price area, parang floor na yan ng M-Wide kung ibibase lang kasi natin dun yung value, no, ng CREC shares nila. So, ibig sabihin, kung magne-negative yung buong business ng M-Wide tapos magkakaroon pa ng issues yung CREC, dun ko lang siya nakikitang bababa ng 230. But if CREC continues to keep growing, tapos yung M-Wide naman, wala masyadong negative catalyst, then I think mahihirapan na yung M-Wide bumaba pa ng 230, no? So, that's why I said na yung downside ng M-Wide is yung 230 to 250 na price area. So, how about you guys? What do you think about M-Wide? Is it a good buy for you or a good buy? So, share your thoughts sa comment section. If you haven't watched my other good buy or good buy videos, click towards the upper right na pag-usapan ko dyan yung LTG at SEC. And if you haven't watched my other videos, my stock market lessons playlist, click towards the lower right. So, ayun lang, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel so you'll be updated with my future videos.